First and foremost, I'd like to thank God for getting us here to this point. Because I'm going to tell you firsthand, without God, I know I wouldn't be here. And without Him taking me to the trials and tribulations and the joy and happiness that I've been through, it wouldn't be a book called Drinking Muddy Water. I'd like to thank my father who's on the boat, my son who's on the boat, my son and mother who's on the boat, my cousins who are on the boat, my friends, real friends, not frenemies, as you would know in the book, is a such thing called frenemies. My friends who are on the boat, and my frenemies who are on the boat. Because you can't do nothing in life without frenemies. Somebody gotta hate, somebody gotta pretend like they like you and stab you in the back and push you forward. Because life is a contact sport. And sometimes when you get tackled and you get hit, you move forward too. A lot of times when you get hit, people think you always gotta move backwards. Sometimes you get that extra yard from getting hit. And I've taken a lot of hits and I've drinking a lot of muddy water. And just so you know, the term drinking muddy water comes from when I went down south. And I started taking these trips with Jahar, who introduced me to a lot of civil rights leaders because he had a connection with one of the people who organized the Children's March for Martin Luther King. And we got to meet him while he was alive. And we got to meet people like Amelia Balkins Robinson, who's, if you go look at any photo, she was right there when Lyndon Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act. And she's still alive at 101 years old. And we were taking children down south on civil rights tours. And I'm going to get to that story. But I want to thank my father because he's special to me, because my father went through a lot of trials and tribulations just like I did. And together we have produced this young man right here with his mother who didn't follow our footsteps and end up in prison. And we had another I have another son who's not on the boat, who's doing well as well in college and doing great things and working a full-time job, and he didn't make it in prison. But that came from us recognizing the mistakes that we made in life, because my journey had a lot of ups and downs. You know, I was raised by my mother, and then I had to be raised by my grandparents because my mother had drug addiction and problems, and I saw my brother get killed. You know, he got robbed, kidnapped, and killed, you know, when I was in prison, and I didn't get to go to his funeral. And all my best friends, people who I really consider my friends, were killed as well. And, you know, a lot of times I'd be like, all these good people died. And when I was in the street, I wasn't a credit dude, but some of the people who died, I wasn't as good as they were. So when I went to prison, I got my GED in 3 weeks. 3 weeks in a federal institution, I got my GED. Then I went to college, and all I could take was history class. And what happened was, I had a white professor, and I loved him. And one of the things that he told the students, it was a lot of white people that took college classes in a federal institution. He told them, if you don't want to hear the truth, don't take this class. And I'm here to tell you, if you don't want to hear the truth, don't read this book. Because there's a lot of things that we don't know that's in this book. And one of the reasons why the people who I love everybody, black or white, whatever, but I've served the African American community for the majority of my life. And one of the things that we do is we don't do research. We just do things without knowing why we do them. And I can tell you firsthand, I paid the price for doing that. I paid the price for not doing things for the right reasons. And when you do the right things for the right reasons, you always get the right results. And Drinking Muddy Water tells you about my life experiences. It tells you about how I changed my life around and worked with Jahan. We formed the Peaceaholics. It tells you about the stories, the success stories, and some of the things that happened, about mistakes. But then it also tells you about lessons that we learned from these great civil rights leaders and how we use those to teach the children. One of my favorite lessons is the one that's the birds in the nest. And I can tell you, I'm one of the people who was dumb as a bird. Reverend Bevel, this was the guy who organized the children to end segregation. I was blessed to be taught by him, like I said, a lot of other civil rights leaders. And he said, in the class, he said, if I called you a bird brain, who would I be offending, you or the bird? So I said, you'd be offending me. So he said, well, what does a bird